You are now listening to the Santos Says podcast, episode number 54. Here we go, back for more. Of course, as always, this episode is brought to you by Santos Threads. Don't forget to check out the latest and greatest of Santos Threads, santos-threads.com. And of course, follow me on social media, Instagram, Santos Threads Shop, TikTok, Santos Threads Shop. And for the love of God, if you are watching on YouTube, give it a like, subscribe, comment, share it with all your friends, etc. On this episode, I am happy to be joined by someone who is a friend of the show, somebody who he's part of the GOAT Squad. The GOAT Squad are my people, great people. We support each other, we show each other love, and so this will be no different. I have the pleasure of having this person back on. He's been on my show before. He was here with pretty much damn near the whole GOAT Squad. It wasn't everybody, but it was probably 3/4 of them, give or take. And they came on here. They spit some freestyles. We kicked it. It was great. We had a good time. And so now I have on here none other than I have the pleasure of speaking with Tony Dimes. Now, Tony Dimes is a lyricist. This guy is a wordsmith. I've been a fan of his work. I've heard his work, whether it's individually, whether it's in collaboration with the GOAT Squad. You know, the GOAT Squad, they got nothing but spitters. Like, that's what they do. They are about bars, authenticity, that real hip-hop. And, of course, myself, Santos, proud owner of Santos Threads, as I didn't even mention that before. But I am a huge fan of their work, and I feel like they bring it. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome back to Santos Says. None other, of course, we're going to talk with him. I want us to get into what he's working on now, his projects. He has this song that I heard recently called Gritty. And I'll let him tell it, of course, talk about that. We'll get into a little bit about hip hop and a little bit more. So without further ado, I want to welcome back to the program none other than Tony Dimes.
Yo, man, that's a great intro. Thank you, brother. Thank you for making me feel welcome. As always, it's a pleasure to be back on the show.
Anytime, bro. So about you, we'll get into you, right? Because I know that we've spoken before, we've spoken offline. I'm a big fan of your work. I know you got a lot of things going on. So I just kind of want to get into a little bit of the background and some of what you've done, right? How you got to that point. So I guess let's start with you, right? Where are you from? Where's Tony Dimes from?
I was born in Queens, but I grew up and spent most of my life in Suffolk County, Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right. So Suffolk County, Long Island, of course. So you get little Dimes, little Tony Dimes, born in Queens. A lot of people that end up on Long Island wind up being from Queens, right? So
it's all the same island. You don't cross a bridge to get to Queens from Long Island. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just the traffic makes you feel like you're in another world, but
yeah,
sometimes, right? It could be very unforgiving. So
definitely.
So you going, right? So you got this whole thing where you're going from Queens, Long Island, family, all that stuff. So then what happens at what point you get to, I guess, the hip hop bug bites you? At what point you get bitten by that hip hop bug?
I would say that my mother at a young age wanted to introduce me to popular music. So she went to a record store and picked up things that were on the top 40. She got me like all sorts of rock and roll music, like hair bands, and also hip hop. You know, Fat Boys, Run DMC, Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff. And in listening to the group of music, a little bit of country too. They gave me like a Charlie Daniels record. And, you know, out of all that, I gravitated towards the hip hop. And I kind of like owned it as my own. You know, I took to it as if it was made for me. And when I got to, I think ninth grade is when I first saw real people participating in the culture. Like I saw people banging on the lunch table, holding down the beat and freestyling and you know, having a cipher. And it was crazy to me to see normal people participate in this art. You know what I mean? Because I never saw like any rock guys jamming in a band together. So it was all like, you know, if you were a musician, you were almost like a superhero. You know, you were a celebrity, and to see regular people do it, I was like, I have to be able to do this. Like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I first got bitten by the bug, and then I just kept rolling with it ever since. You know what I mean?
It,
Haven't stopped my whole life.
it's interesting you bring that up because, right, there's also, depending on the family you grew up in, especially most New Yorkers, I think most New Yorkers, especially if you're downstate, right? If you're downstate, I would say past the Yonkers, like from Yonkers on down, we're so multicultural, right? So it's
Right.
like we have our cultural background, right? You know, whether you are, you know, Latino or Italian, right? Greek, so on and so forth. We got that cultural identity. Then you got the American identity,
Right.
right? Then you have your surroundings, which is
Hmm.
other with with everything else. So it's like how you're able to, I guess, like it's just fascinating to me how you were able to kind of take that. Right? You're like, oh, they give me this whack ass whatever country record. I was like, whatever. I'm sure you
Yeah.
appreciate it now, but like,
Yeah. I mean, but even then, like I would pick out the hip hop in the other things. Like
yeah,
Charlie
yeah, yeah.
Daniels has this record called "Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Yes, yep. I've
You
heard it.
can't tell me that this
Classic
old
record though.
country. Yeah, you can't tell me this old country man isn't rapping. You know what I
Yep.
mean? The syllables and the flow and the way he puts the words together. He's rapping over a violin. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't really know much about him now. Like I never really followed his music, but you know, at the time when I heard that song, I was like, that's rap. Don't give me that country stuff. This is rap. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it was different. It was a different kind of rap, right? But I think if you really go back, right, there's people who will argue, okay, hip hop, it wasn't hip hop at that time, but hip hop was influenced by so many things that
Yeah.
there were people legit putting words together, rhyming, singing, and all kinds of music, and primarily African American elements, soul music and stuff, and some of
100%.
that other music, rhyming words together. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. Right?
Yeah, definitely, man. It's just, you know, hip hop being an American art form to
Yep.
start with. You know, it has different elements of all different type of music, just like American culture has all different types of culture put together. Granted, it did absolutely start in the African American and Latino communities.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
And took different elements of jazz and rock and roll and reggae music. You know what I mean? Really, MCing started with reggae music. I
Yeah,
mean, but there was a video, Busta Rhymes was bringing that to, you know, the forefront, you know, not too long ago. He was just like, they started with the microphone, a PA system, and the DJ, and just rapping, you know, really started it with reggae music and Jamaican culture. And
it's
then he took it,
crazy.
you know, here in America and started in the Bronx. And you know the story.
Yeah, it's crazy too, and it's an interesting thing because that would open up a whole can of worms, right? There's been a lot of controversy in the past couple months, and a lot of this controversy is actually made a bigger deal by people who have agendas. So, for
Uh-huh.
example, the agenda is to divide people, right? By saying, well, you didn't start this or you didn't start that. No, it's globally recognized, and it should be recognized that hip hop is black music.
Yeah.
It's black music. It doesn't mean that nobody else contributed to it. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean that there weren't elements. Doesn't mean that Latinos weren't there at pretty close to the beginning, right? But there's so much divide and conquer. It's like, can't we just all agree that it was derived from a lot of African American and Jamaican elements and some Latinos there, and everybody kind of put something in it. It doesn't take it away, doesn't take away from who dominates the sport, if you will.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's as long as you're respectful and you're appreciative of the origins of the culture, like you mentioned, and you don't diminish the contributions of everybody, there should
Yeah.
be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the whole conversation started through the excess of what would be called a culture vulture, and
Oh,
people who take from the culture but don't give back. But there are plenty of people from all different backgrounds that give back a lot. You know what I mean? And I see that the conversation went in that direction because the culture vultures have, you know, there was an influx in recent times, so the conversation kind of needed to be had, and you know, you reverse engineer that back to the origin, and it always goes back to who started it. and ownership of the culture. So don't ruin my culture, that sort of
Right,
thing. Don't be a vulture to my culture.
right,
When
right.
there are also culture vultures, I feel, of all different races. You know, DJ Academics for one, not to name
Right,
drop
exactly.
anybody,
No, no,
but
you're right. And he's African American, but you could still be a culture vulture regardless of your origin. I agree with that.
right, yeah.
Yeah, he's a troll. He's a
Right. Yeah.
troll.
Yeah. Exactly. Just pushing buttons for pushing buttons' sake, just to
Yeah.
get a rise out of people. And you know what? He might have some points too, but it's the way he says it. It just rubbing people the wrong way on purpose. But I
No,
feel
he's
like
a
the whole
fat,
point.
greasy bastard. I'm saying I don't care. That's me being shock jock right there. But it's
No,
true.
no
I'm
doubt.
sorry, I respect him.
Nah. There's no. It's. But people like that was pushing the whole narrative of as was pushing the conversation in the direction as to you know ownership and whose is it anyway. So don't
Mhm.
come into my culture and ruin it. And I feel like that's how it was. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
No, yeah, because and especially I always look at it too. And there's another, and you're a New Yorker, so you know this. I also feel like there's layers to it. I almost feel like if and it's not to disrespect or discredit anybody from out of town, but if you, I think when you're from here, when you're from New York, there's levels to this shit. Like you understand more of how it was. You understand more of the melting pot, right? Like you had Italians that hung out with the Spanish dudes and the black dudes and everybody and the Chinese dude that was nice breaking the one
right,
Chinese dude, right? You knew, right? Because for us, we're all together. We didn't even color
right,
wasn't a thing with us.
right. And if and even if it was a thing, it wasn't as divisive. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that you would realize that there are other cultures involved, but
Mhm.
you would also respect the hustle. Like you said, the Asian, people that were incredible at breakdancing, and there's also Crazy Legs. He's a Latino. He
Yeah,
started it. Literally, the man who laid the first brick.
yeah,
So yeah, there's absolutely recognition of other cultures, but to see what other cultures bring to the table, you know what I mean? People that contribute to hip hop and the five elements. No one talks about the five elements anymore.
no,
That was like a thing, and that's almost like the whole theme of the song that I just put out, Gritty. It's like bringing it back to the essence and bringing it back to like um when when people talked about things like that, the five elements of hip hop, breaking, graffiti, DJing, MCing, knowledge, and if somebody showed their interest in the culture that way by flexing their skills at any one of those five elements, they were accepted. Whether you're a white guy, you're a brown guy, purple guy, green guy, whatever,
right,
whoever,
whatever you were. Yep.
however, you know what I mean. If you had respect for the hip hop culture, and you know what I mean, like if you showed up to a Rocksteady event back in the day, there was everybody there. People
Yeah.
from Europe, people from Africa, people from like literally people from all over the world would show up to these breakdancing events and watch people defy gravity and do things that the human body is. It's like, how could you do
Right, right.
that? Like, and you're accepted because of your contribution to the hip hop culture, and that's just the direction I came from.
Yeah, and I want to get to your stuff too, your music as well. I just wanted to
Yeah,
kind of
it's all good.
right. One of the things I wanted to mention because you mentioned the five elements, and it's
Hmm.
very important. I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like now, and I want your opinion on this. The five elements, a lot of are kind of lost in that when people talk about when they talk about hip hop, you wasn't there, you wasn't there, you wasn't doing this. They automatically think of the music when hip hop is not just a genre, it's a culture.
Yeah.
What do you think is wrong right now with the genre or the culture in general in that hey, the graffiti artists don't get their respect. DJs are just anybody that can with iTunes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And a laptop. What do you make of today as far as the elements go?
I make that I feel like that everything today, like the culture shifts so much that a lot of things are fast tracked,
Yeah,
and a lot of things that they just don't feel, they don't hold value in. Why bring it along with you on the shift? Because like the culture does shift like every decade, 15 years, maybe 20 years, it'll hold on, and then the culture has to shift. It goes to something else. It happened with rock and roll. It happened with every other music before hip hop. And I feel like that's what's happening with hip hop. It's a culture shift, and the younger generation isn't as interested in the foundation and the building blocks as we were, being 80s babies and being so close to the beginning and so close to the inception of the culture, we want to know what makes it. We want to know how how the building is being held up, the four corners of the building. We know that these elements is what drives our culture. And then nowadays they're just interested in making it. You could do with social media and YouTube and all these other things, like you could just get a good beat, get some things that can be considered lyrics somehow, throw it on the track, and there you go. You know what I mean? There's no need for the rest of the culture. You know what I mean? No, they don't want to learn about the other stuff. That was our generation, and it's just like, okay, that's what I feel happened. The fast track. You just want to get on.
Yeah, it's almost like you're right. It's the fast track. It's the instant gratification. It's almost like, and it's like that in every sense of the word now, because even with music, right? If you notice, a lot of artists push out music and it's like the next thing, the next song, it's like no singles, right? A single will be out for like a month or a week and then it's on to the next video. Like we don't appreciate the album. There's no albums. There's no.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, bro. And we've been trying to bring that back. Like King Virtue talks about it all the time, to put together and True Words and So Soon, especially So Soon and True Words. They've been talking about putting together albums with skits. Remember skits?
Yes,
we used to have skits, intros, outros. It was cinematic. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's an element that needs to be brought back. You know what I mean? And I understand that the era of the short album was a necessity. You know what I mean? When guys like Nas are putting out albums of like 6 songs, 5 songs, you know what I mean? Really short EPs, and people they were needing that at the time. They didn't have the attention span to listen to the 12-track album. Each one has 3 verses and a hook.
Right,
and, you know what I mean? Like the attention span got shorter, but as we mature, so does the music, and things change. And
it's not, it makes me, and I understand we can't go back to that old era, but it's kind of like also that went hand in hand with the album artwork too, right? I mean, you had the album artwork, you had the credits. People knew who was the EP of the album, the executive producer, right? Who produced the records, who laid the
engineer. Yeah. Hell yeah. Writer credits, who had a ghostwriter, who didn't. You're looking for their government name. It's just
I used to know it.
Yeah, it's a thing of the past now. You don't get the CD and read it and look at it and check out the credits and check out the cover art. There used to be the whole booklet used to tell a story. Like Redman would put out booklets that were like little comic books.
He was the best at that.
Yeah, bro. I still remember all of his skits. What was it? Ixrafo, I'm knocking somebody right the fuck out. He used to have a radio station he used to play up. It was just dope.
Wu-Tang did that. Wu-Tang, they used, if you notice with Wu-Tang, right? What Wu-Tang did, first of all, they were much smarter than people give them credit for, and I'll tell you why. They did a whole thing based on, before anime, their whole shit was based on kung fu stuff, like went over everybody's head.
Hell yeah. It was a whole nother culture that was introduced to hip hop. Like people knew because they would go down to the theater. This was even a generation before us, like the 75 babies, like people who were born around 75, they would go down to the theater and watch kung fu flicks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit before our time, you know what I mean? But
they made it cool.
To introduce that to the hip hop culture, talking about 36 Chambers and all the names too. Ghostface Killer, like those are names from literally taken from the movie. Like, and when you see that, and especially as a Wu-Tang fan, like you're so well versed in Wu-Tang culture, and then all of a sudden you discover the movies and you're like, wait a second, hold on, I heard that sound effect before, like choose the ball and follow me, or choose the sword,
swords and all that.
Yeah, bro, that was a real movie. Dope.
Yeah. They were so inspired, but again, they brought, this is what's missing in hip hop right now. They brought something to hip hop that was not there. It's like Griselda, right? What Griselda does now, and I'm not taking away from Griselda. Griselda is a beneficiary of the era that they're in, because if Griselda was around 20 years ago, there'd be nothing special about Griselda. That's being I'm not being harsh. what makes Griselda is the fact that, hey, they sound like what hip hop used to be. So,
right.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's a callback.
yeah,
Definitely, man. And they do that. They say they're like, you know, we pay homage to the ones that came before us, the Ray and Ghost, Mobb Deep, you know what I mean? People that gritty, real gritty shit, you know, that grimy shit. And that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody's longing for. So,
yeah, no, definitely.
and
So
plus lyrically they're nice, you know,
yeah,
besides that.
yeah, and what's they're nice, and not only that, but they do have a sound. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times the young people, they get caught up in copying what's going on. You can hear a Griselda record. Obviously, you know who produces most of Griselda's,
Mhm.
Griselda's records, right? But they have a sound. There's a sound there. You hear the doo-dum, doo-dum.
Yeah.
Like very similar. I would compare it. It's got a lot of. It reminds me a lot of Alchemist a little bit. It's got some Alchemist. It reminds me of Alchemist. It's got a little bit of a Havoc. I can hear
Yeah.
Havoc, Alchemist influences, right? A little of that dark background, but you can
Definitely.
hear it. As soon as you hear the bass line, you're like, this is Griselda.
Right. This is that hard shit. This is what we want. You
Yeah,
know.
it's amazing. No, it's great. I love what they're doing. And speaking of which, let's talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
Right? You talked about Gritty.
Yeah. I'm
So
excited.
talk to us about Gritty.
Gritty's a new joint that just dropped today on my birthday. And
Happy birthday.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm real excited. It's featuring So Soon and Solomon Childs from Theodore Unit, Wu-Tang Clan affiliate.
Nice.
And yeah, King Virtue produced it. And it's just that roots, that hip hop roots, like really throwback, almost nostalgic joint, which is the direction I wanted to go when we first made it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we definitely did that.
No, definitely. I think that when I heard the record, I was like, yo, I mean, I knew you had bars. I was like, yo, the flow on that. What inspired that? That flow is like so like unorthodox. What made you think of it's dope? Like, what made you think of that flow when you made it? Like, what was it that?
Appreciate it. Well, I was actually concentrating on flow the most because
Yeah.
I wanted to really pluck the heartstrings and the nostalgia of that era. So I was trying to like almost make it sound like as if like it came out of that, like it might be on the Method Man tape, or like, you know, and using those kind of flows as influence to recreate that feeling. Like I didn't want to do it the same way, as every other song, the way rap is now. I wanted to really like as if it could have been made sometime in like 98, 99.
Yeah.
You
dope.
know.
Nah, it's dope. I loved it. I heard it. I was like, man, and Virtues is great because like every time some shit drops, he's like, oh, here, I'm gonna send it to Santos. All right, I'll plug it. You know what I mean? And I love it. I appreciate that he always, thinks about me when you guys drop something, because I was
Definitely.
like, I loved it.
I'm very fortunate to have Virtue. You know what I mean? He's just a force. He's a networking force. People love him. He loves people. And he helps me out a lot, and the GOAT Squad, he helps us all out a lot when it comes to that sort of thing, getting the word out, making contacts, and yeah, man, the contacts. That's how the song came about. Like we ended up doing the VIP only cipher for Grind Mode in New Jersey, and Solomon Childs was on there. And so, like, we did the cipher. It was out. They were promoting it, and everything was great. And then Solomon just like, he hit me up. He's like, "Yo, you want to do a joint?" I'm like, "Yeah, no doubt."
Right.
I was like, "I'll have Virtue cook us up something." And then I hit up Virtue. He's just like, "Yo," and I was like, "I want to make a song that sounds like it's from that era, like channel that old RZA. You know what I mean? Do me that favor." And then he came back with the beat, and I was like, "This is perfect."
Yeah.
And then wrote the verse. So Soon heard it. So Soon's like, I need to be on this song. No doubt. Come on in. So Soon got on it. Solomon sent in his verse, and it's crazy.
Nah, it's dope. You guys all did your thing on it. I mean, obviously Virtue as well did his thing on the production tip. You guys never fail to disappoint, and it's always kind of like Like you raise the bar. You guys raise the bar. You always, one joint doesn't sound like the other. You guys always do that mentality where it seems like you want to bring something fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said about having a certain sound. You know what I mean? Most producers have their certain sound, and most crews have their certain sound. Like, Rome Streets fits in perfectly with Griselda. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But as the Goat Squad goes, we all have such different styles, and we're all coming from such different directions that we will raise the bar on each other. So it's like we're not trying to have an exact sound. Like one song's not going to sound like the next song. That's not going to sound like the next song. And that's our concentration, is to hit them with to be versatile and hit them with different variations of just dope hip hop, foundation driven hip hop, Yeah,
no, it shows definitely. And so you mentioned, right, you are from Long Island, right? You are from,
yes,
you grew up in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
You are of Italian descent, right?
Yep.
You talked about this project that was going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about it with Mike Hoffa.
Yeah.
Project. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, man, it's dope. It's really dope. And this is one of those projects that's like a real art project. It's like a labor of love. You know what I mean? There's other projects that just happen so quick, timing and all sorts of different necessities make it come out. Like people just put the pedal to the metal. But with the Paisan project, me and Hoffa have been taking our sweet time, because if there's other projects going on in between, and there's other, and we don't want to rush anything. We want to make the project as organic as possible. And again, a lot of that is due to Virtue driving the boat. Like Hoffa's a machine, man. This guy, he really makes music fast, good music.
Yeah.
Like I'm more of a novice when it comes to the actual writing of songs. So I don't work as fast as Hoffa. And so we got Virtue like setting the pace, feeding us the beats, making beats for us, like tweaking songs. And when it comes out, we're planning on the beginning of next year. It's gonna be pretty dope. We shot for an EP. Yeah, we shot for an EP and we passed that already. So we're just like, well, why don't we just keep on making songs and making an album? A full album. So it all started with Sunday Gravy. Like the Goat Squad just formed up and we were all getting to know each other. And Hoffa hit me up. And he was just like, yo, he goes, yeah, you're a Paisan, aren't you? You're Italian? I'm like, yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. And he was just like, no, I wanted to do an Italian themed song, like a concept song. And I'm like, no doubt, let's do it. And then we brought Virtue in, whose last name is Patillo. Like he's mixed, he's half white, half black. Yeah. So we formed up the Paisans, and that, was just a concept song that turned into a concept album, and it's going to be just like Italian American themed and kind of like illustrate the Italian American experience growing up. That's why Sunday Gravy, we really wanted to show what it was like, in an Italian house on Sunday. We're making sauce, your grandma's coming over with this and that, we're, no hats on, elbows off the table, like the whole spiel, and when trying not to do it, like the whole caveat to this whole thing is not to do it corny, like to not be corny in any way. We're not out there like, yo, we're all Gambino gangsters. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the lyrics kind of depict the opposite. Like we talk about how like all these fake gangsters out there are playing up their Italian heritage, talking about everybody's a mobster and everybody's this and that. And yeah, man, it's going to be really dope when it comes out. I'm excited.
That's dope. Now I love that. And you know what? That's what I would remember. That harkens back to what I was talking about. Bringing something to the game that's not there necessarily. I mean, you've had Italian American rappers. You've had Pellegrino, JPP, who could spit.
JPP, right? Super dope. Yeah.
Jojo Pellegrino gets busy. I thought he could have been a superstar when Violator was out doing their thing. He should have been a superstar. He was that good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And he's smart too. I think he's making other moves in the game. I think he's, writing for people or whatever he's doing. He's in the game.
To him offline, and maybe we'll get him on here. I don't know, but we spoke.
Nice.
He's humble. Very humble.
Yeah, no, he's very cool.
I want to get him on. Yeah,
we've spoken a couple times, like through just mutual comments on posts and things like that. But yeah, JJP is a good way to look.
Good
you know
dude,
what I mean?
Good dude.
Yeah, and he really like he combats that fake rapper persona too. You know, like recently, I don't know if you saw his stories, but another rapper claimed to be the illest. I'm not going to say no names, but he claimed to be the illest white rapper since Eminem, blah, blah, blah. And JJP was like, bro, like, what? To even have that conversation is absurd. To claim that you're the best white, nuts. You know, like you're in the rap game, you're a rapper. That's it. We're all playing for the same game here. Like,
Italians are like in a. I know there's a lot of levels. It's hard to. It's so broad when you say white rapper because like Italians are almost like their own thing. Like I never looked at Italians like I'll be honest. I never looked at Italians like just regular run of the mill white person in Minnesota. Folks. I never have because I grew up in. You know what I mean? It's not. You guys are your own thing. I look at you guys like your own thing. Like you guys have. You guys have your own swag. You guys, which is important. You have your own swag. A lot of similarities with us too. You guys wear the freaking jewelry and the gold to the gills like we do. You know what I mean? So with Hispanics
definitely, we're all about keeping that culture alive. You know what I mean? Right. We have that. You hear a lot of the time people don't cook with seasoning. That's not an Italian household. Italian household has some seasoning. You know what I mean? Like and then we bring that into our lives. Like we have our own flavor, our own style with things, and that goes back to generations of music. Music is always really rooted in a lot of things. Like if you participate in the music culture, in what generation you are, you just have a little bit more swag to you. Like
it's different. You guys. I don't like to categorize you guys as white, even though technically it's in Europe, but it's different. It's just there's levels. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you have also, if you want to really get technical, I know this and I know you know this. Like, if you go to Sicily, Sicilians are, not to give a lesson of history, but a lot of Sicilians are mixed with Arab, Northern African.
Me, I'm Sicilian.
Right. Okay. So right? It's like Mediterranean is different. It's just Mediterranean. Yeah. The Italians are more Mediterranean. It's different.
Well, I'm Greek too. My mother's Greek, so I'm definitely like my family's from the Mediterranean basin.
That's it.
That whole area,
all the good food, bro. I'll tell you, food.
You ain't kidding. Definitely.
But and since you are from Long Island, right? I feel like I have to talk to you about this because I feel like Long Island doesn't get respected when it comes to hip hop. There was a segment, and it's almost like a lot of people. Tell me if you noticed this. A lot of people who were from Long Island kind of had dual residency, or kind of like, and I feel like there was a lot of shame with that. And I think that's kind of messed up, right? Because look, Busta Rhymes claims Brooklyn all the time. People from Long Island will tell you Busta used to live on Long Island for a while.
Yeah, I know people have known Busta.
Keith Murray.
But Keith Murray always claimed Long Island. Yeah, he repped it. You know what I mean? Keith Murray and Craig Mack both repped Long Island. And you know what? It's starting. Right? Rakim from Wyandanch. Yeah, it's starting to get more recognition. There was Eric Sermon is from Brentwood.
He reps
it. What I mean? That's a neighboring town from where I grew up. I grew up in Deer Park, so I had a lot of things going on in Brentwood growing up.
Of course, Brentwood. You just said Brentwood. Anybody who knows Brentwood, if you know, you know Brentwood.
Yeah, exactly. If you know, you know.
We get busy in Brentwood.
Method Man played lacrosse in Hempstead for Hempstead High School. Rock Marcy is from Hempstead and really reps it. Like he doesn't claim that he's from anywhere else. He's like Hempstead. I'm from Hempstead, and I appreciate that. Yeah. R.A. the Rugged Man is from Smithtown. That's all the way out there. Like Eastern Suffolk.
That's right.
And he always reps it. And people think Prodigy, like not to spill the beans. Everybody's common knowledge if you read the biography or anything. Like Prodigy Hempstead. Was not from. Yeah, he's from Hempstead. He's not from Queensbridge. Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about,
Yeah, like he used Havoc's residence as his mailing. Havoc's from Queensbridge.
Right.
Prodigy's from Hempstead, just like right there, right down the road. And there's a lot of heads. I think I said Eric Sermon from Brentwood, right? Long Island is deeply rooted in hip hop because we're right there. We're right there. You know, you can't have Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Queens without Long Island right there.
No,
You
you
know,
can't. No. I think also, rest in peace, Biz Markie. Wasn't he from Long Island too? Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. He got the Rakim, yeah, Blind Edge. Yeah. And they just put a big sign up for him, a big MF Doom, also Long Island.
Oh, Doom, yes.
Yeah.
He grew up in England as well. He's from England, but he grew up mostly in Long Island.
Right. This is where he came from after England. Yeah.
Kind of like Slick Rick, but with the Bronx.
Right, exactly. A lot of talent on the island, bro.
Yeah, nah, man, I hear you. Yeah, it's dope, man, and it's great to see. I'm glad you rep it like you should, because I feel like a lot of people from Long Island, they don't rep it for one reason or the other. That's starting to change, but at least back in the day, there were people, like you said, you brought up Prodigy. Most people know, it's common knowledge that Prodigy, even Nas said it when he was dissing him, right? Nas was back in the day when they had beef. Nas was like, "We invited you to the hood, rep it right."
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We invited you to the hood.
It's true. It really is. I mean, and sometimes people don't even claim the right town in Long Island. You know what I mean? Because everybody always wants to project a little bit of struggle. Everybody always wants to talk about, oh no, I didn't come from the suburbs. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Just be real.
Right,
be who you are.
Yeah, it's part of what, because the struggle, everybody wants to be from the hood. They want to be from and it's okay. Right. I applaud. I'll be honest with you. I don't look at anybody who's from here or there any differently. I look at authenticity. Like if you grew up in the burbs and you could spit or you can produce or whatever, you can design, you do graffiti, you could break b-boy, whatever, I'll give you I don't care where you grew up at. As long as you're
true. If you love the culture, you love the culture.
Right. You think Pharrell grew up in the hood?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Come on, Kanye. I want to ask you about Ye for a second as well. But
okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. What are you going to say? You were going to say something?
No. I completely forgot. Yeah.
No. Sorry about that. So with Ye, right? A lot of people don't know, right? Ye, and I did my research over time. Ye's father and Ye grew up middle to upper class. Ye didn't grow up poor. Ye's father was a philanthropist who did work in Dominican Republic, and he did work, like this guy was successful, and his mother had a master's degree, was a teacher. Like this guy did not grow up in the hood. Ye.
No.
Yeah. Ye grew up privileged. A lot of people don't know that. I'm not saying he was a billionaire from birth, but I'm just saying. So with that being that's the segue, right?
Yeah.
What do you make of Ye these days? I know we spoke about, I think Ye, when we had our interview with the whole squad. What do you make of Ye these days?
Man. Ye is a touchy subject, man, because there's so many people that make it their business to speak about Ye now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a reason that he's getting all this time on these talking head shows and he's saying what he's saying. And I disagree with his angle that he's taking. Like he really is talking what he believes is his truth. You know what I mean? And he's trying to be like, look, watch this. You'll see what's going to happen. I'm going to start speaking anti-Semitically. I'm going to start talking and saying these anti-Semitic things. Watch what's going to happen. And immediately he gets dropped from everything. You know what I mean? Balenciaga, The Gap, you know what I mean? People are like, fuck you. And what he's pointing out is that and he tried to say it, but he didn't articulate it correctly. He tried to say, all right, but in hip hop, we talk about killing ourselves, or the Black community talks about killing themselves, and everybody's cool with that. No problem at all. But as soon as you start talking anything anti-Semitic, cut right off, unplugged from the world. And again, I do not agree with what he's saying at all. Like my wife and children are Jewish, so there's no way I'm making anti-Semitic claims at all. But what he's pointing out is that really, you want to talk freedom of speech or not? Is there real freedom of speech or is there not? Don't, because you disagree with everything, because he is saying some horrible things, like all of it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But he's pointing out what happens when you say these things. And also, I feel like Trevor Noah just made a really good point. And he said that, like, Ye has famously said that when he's not on his meds, he can't control himself. Things happen. He says things, he makes scenes, he causes problems with people, costs people money, with all his antics. And he said this publicly. And when we see him go off the rails, when the public sees him go off the rails, they just shove a camera and a mic in his face. And they're like, watch this, he's about to do it, like, haha, like they can't wait. They just give him enough rope to what did MF Doom say? Enough rope to yoke himself?
Well, yeah, so to speak.
Yeah. And so what Trevor Noah is saying, he's just like, bro, he's like, Kanye West changed the way I listen to hip hop. And that's true. He did. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, College Dropout, Late Registration. Like, these albums are fundamentally what hip hop's about. But he is off the rails and nobody's going to help him.
No,
they're just pushing him further off the rails.
No, I'll tell you something, and I'm curious on your take of this. I'm seeing something how this plays out, and and he said it in the interview with Drink Champs. I seen it. He says, "No, I'm Michael. And I was, even before he got the words out, I said, "Yeah, you are Michael." And you know what? It's gonna end like it ended for Michael too. I'm sorry. I see it. I could see, bro. I see where this is headed, and I hope I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. This is headed to a bad place. It may not be this year. It may not be next year. It's going down the Prince, Whitney Houston.
You make such a good point, bro.
Mark my words.
Because Michael, I mean, a lot of people hold Ye, like he holds that billionaire card proudly.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he mentions it a lot of time. Well, do you make money like I? Like, just like Floyd Mayweather, like, do you make money the way I make money? So shut the fuck up if you don't. And Michael would have been considered a billionaire with his wealth that he had in the 80s.
Right.
If he had his wealth in the 2020s, Michael would have been a billionaire. So it is going in that same.
Now billionaires, like almost everybody's I'm not saying it in a bad way, but let's be honest. Like, the money's different.
Yeah, money's not the same anymore. Now a B is a B now, but it's still a billion.
M's would have been B's.
Right.
M's back then were B's now.
And I think that Ye just needs people who really love him to really try to like help him out, and he was with the Kardashians that are just the wrong type of people to be with. And especially if you're in that situation, they're gonna put you on Front Street, like. And I forgot who was it that said it. There was another person that was talking about Ye, and they're like, you know what the public likes to do about Ye? They like to drag him across the coals. They like to call him crazy, and they like to buy his shit.
Right.
Like, they're still lining up for the Yeezys and all this other stuff. Like, oh my God, how could he say this? But you're dressing like Balenciaga looks like garbage bags. Why? Because of Ye. You know what I mean? Like, because this is all because of Ye. It's real. He's affecting the culture in a real way.
Yeah. And he knows it. And he knows it too.
And to your point, he's going to drive that boat right off of the waterfall, bro. That shit's going to go right off the edge.
Tragic. Yeah, because for everybody, here's the thing. This is what he's not paying attention to. It runs out.
Mm-hmm.
It runs out. Like, it doesn't last forever. Like, unless you make that shift where you're able to, you got to get yourself right health-wise, mentally, because he clearly has some sort of issues that he's battling, and he's not being honest with himself. Not that, I mean, I worked as a substance abuse counselor briefly, so I know what he has, some sort of issue with substance. Look, if you see him, he retains water. He's very bloated. Like, I could see he's got a problem with pills. I could see it.
I think it might be pills that they might have prescribed him,
but he's not using them.
Yeah, I don't know if he doesn't strike me as the type to have an addiction problem, like partying too much.
No. No, I think it's just not using. I think it's using too much of the prescription meds, because I say this all the time. Like, there's no difference between whether the doctor wrote it or if you bought it off the street if you're not using it properly.
No doubt.
If you're using oxycodone or whatever, or this and that, benzodiazepines and all that stuff, I mean, or whatever.
The doctor prescribe you some Xanax, but if you're crushing it up and snorting it, there's a problem there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I pray that,
You
I
know?
hope that it's not, again, this was speculating, obviously, but
Of course.
there's something there, and I just hope, because I was such a fan. I'm actually hurt that I see it. It's like, yo, you duped me. Like, I got duped. I
You
felt like
know,
I bought a bag of goods and I fell for it.
I hear you. I do. And I feel that way too, just not 100%. Like I'm still I haven't let go of Kanye yet. Pause.
No, no,
You know what I
I
mean?
got
Like
off. I'm done with him, bro.
I
I'm
know.
hurt. I'm hurt because I was that kid. See, I'm hurt because when I was in high school, I was that kid. I was like that. I was the one that had the freaking polo shirts, and I was
Yeah,
preppy. I was like that nerdy kid. So it's like, for me, it's like, oh, like,
I know. He led
what
the way.
happened? Like, I was
He
Lupe
led the way.
Fiasco. Like, that was me. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I just remember distinctly, and this is 100% true, and I love my mother for it. She's always been involved in things like this. But she comes up to me one day and she's just like, people say Kanye West is a genius. She's like, can you please? And she's like, I'm not, this isn't a joke. She's like, I really want to know what makes him a genius. I want to know. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
okay, no problem. I played all the lights for her. I'm like, listen to the composure, listen to the way this song is arranged, the samples, how he puts this here and that there. I'm like, think about that. Now think about the feeling that you used to get when Quincy Jones would produce a song for Michael.
Right.
Ye is that.
Right.
He's that. You play songs like All the Lights and a couple other joints that your mother could appreciate. Don't play all of them, but you pick a few joints that give an example of Kanye's
Hey,
genius.
hey mama.
Hey mama, or even Good Morning, Good Morning,
Good morning.
like he's brilliant. And with brilliance sometimes comes madness. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
been proven.
Right.
It's been proven. So yes, I disagree with a lot of the hurtful things he's saying, especially the George Floyd stuff. It's like, come on, man, you just
That's
can't.
whack. You don't, like, he doesn't know. Like, you can't talk about that.
But again, like his point though is what he's trying to do is say the most outrageous stuff to show what happens when you say this. But that he doesn't understand that the things he's saying are very hurtful.
Yeah, but I think he's posturing though too. He has political aspirations. It's clear.
That's why he's wearing that hat.
He's trying to do it. He's totally like, oh, I'm not a Democrat. And again, I don't like to talk politics, but he's like, oh, I'm a Republican, and everybody that's a Democrat is evil. And it's like, bro, but do you realize that who buys your stuff? Like, the majority of people who buy your stuff are from the inner city. Like, they made you hot. Like,
yeah, and it's true. Like, and nobody's buying stuff anymore. So if you continue to have a market somewhere, you've got some loyal fans.
Right.
People that'll support you, people that want those. Yeezys ain't nothing but Crocs shaped different. They're made out of the same material. As a Croc hater, I know that you're a famous Croc hater.
Yeah.
No, of course. That's all they are. It's the same foam, shaped different. That's all. I'm not even gonna get into that. The point is, Men is good at what he does, and he's like, there's a reason why Jay separated from him.
Yeah. So before we go, top five, not best favorite MCs, top 5 most underrated.
Oh, goodness gracious, this is hard. I would absolutely. Yeah, it is a curveball. I appreciate that though. There's a lot of MCs. I'm not going to put them in order of best to worst. You want me to say 5? I'd say underrated is R.A. the Rugged Man. I'll say it. Say it and say it and say it and say it and say it. Because every time I bring up RA, people are quick to be like, no. You
haven't listened.
Yeah. And even the ones that do listen, hip hop heads, they'll be like, all right, yeah, okay, he does have bars, but didn't he piss on somebody? Like, because his old reputation is just so wild that people don't even want to co-sign him. But you want to talk about bars, you want to talk about song structure, you want to talk about the way shit is supposed to be in rap music, that the forefathers of this culture look up to RA because of this. RA the Rugged Man is somebody who's very, very underrated and needs to be held up and needs to be respected a lot more than he is. A cat that is newer that is underrated would be RJ Payne. RJ Payne is serious.
Good one.
Like if
Wasn't
you listen
expecting
to,
that one, but
yeah, because he's newer, so you don't want to say that somebody that's coming up is underrated because he hasn't quite gotten his due yet. You never know, he might strike gold one day and people be like, yo, RJ Payne's the shit. But right now, I don't think when you mention his name, it doesn't have the respect that it deserves. Another guy that I think is underrated, that people don't give him the respect that he's due, is your old Droog, YOD.
oh yes,
Bro,
yeah. People said
this guy.
now sound alike.
That's the problem. People can't get past his voice.
It's unfortunate.
Sounds like Nas, and he's been really trying to push his presentation in a different direction. But if you talk about pen to paper and you talk about lyrics and song structure, again, the same thing I keep coming back to: fundamentals, bars,
He's nice.
how to be a rapper.
Nice.
Fucking your old Droog is serious. So that's that's
nice.
3. I got Droog, I got RJ Payne, I got R.A. the Rugged Man. I used to say that Black Thought was underrated, but ever since the 10-minute freestyle, people
he's not underrated anymore.
Not anymore. Now he's rated.
Rated, high.
Now he's rated high. You know what I mean? So who else is a super duper technical lyricist that does not get the due and credit? There's so many that do now, like Method Man. He gets his credit now. You know, there's people that have achieved that. I feel like oh my God, what's her name now? She's with oh my God, she's an incredible female MC. Ciroc. I'm not saying her name right. Yeah, she needs to get more.
She could spit. She could spit
like crazy. Yeah. Who else is another MC that doesn't get their credit? I mean, I feel like Action Bronson in the same vein as YOD, but he's such a celebrity now. It doesn't even
rap anymore.
Yeah, he does, but not as he's got so many other things going on. Yeah, man, that was 4. Yeah, I'll pick up another one.
And start rapping.
Huh?
He was a better rapper when he was fat.
Yeah. Or a more consistent rapper, because he's got so much other stuff going on, you know. And there's a lot of heads out there that are really Rock Marcy. We said Rock Marcy before. He's another guy that's very underrated, but he's got his own lane though. Like he does what he does best, and he's another one that set the example for guys like Griselda. You know, like
I agree with that. He's very dope. Does not get mentioned nearly as often as he should.
Yeah. So I'd say that would be my 5.
That's a good 5. I would say
Rhapsody.
I like your list.
Rhapsody. Huh? Thank you. I would say another one would be Rhapsody, but she's also getting her respect now. Yeah.
Nah, there's a bunch. It's hard to name just 5. I mean, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
Off the top, like as far as all time, I would say like I only have 2 that I think about, like that always come out like to me, to my head all time, legacy wise. To me, it's always been Guru of Gangstar and AZ. I feel like those 2 are underrated for their careers.
Yeah, I get that.
Those are the 2 most underrated great lyricists of all time. To me,
AZ more than Guru. I feel like people give Guru his roses, his flowers now, but AZ, he needs that respect. You know, he's a barsmith, the visualizer. You know,
and the crazy thing about AZ, if you think about this is the scary thing. As great as Nas is, and Nas is my favorite MC, AZ is the only rapper I could think of that has outdone him on multiple occasions on tracks.
Yeah.
That cannot be disputed. He is out-rapped Nas for some reason, and I think that's why they haven't made an album together. Because of ego. I think Nas knows that.
But all of the tracks that they've done together are so fly. As a matter of fact, that's one of my favorites, the flyest. Better watch your back, it's so cold. Pinky ring shining, so act like y'all know. Like you feel like getting dressed in a tuxedo. You know, like that. When they get in that lane, they're unstoppable, bro. For real. But as far as goes, though, like I feel like he has one Achilles heel.
AZ?
Yeah, he has one Achilles heel.
I know what it is. Go ahead.
Well, I would say that his flow and his song patterns and his formula is the same every
Yes,
time. Like
I
when he's
agree.
going to switch up the
I
flow.
agree.
When he's going to put the punctuation line. Like his format is so like natural to him that's what he does every time.
He's
Another
not
MC that does
versatile.
that is Q-Tip. Q-Tip is the same. Like what a Q-Tip song is going to sound like.
Yeah, yeah.
You just do, and they're both amazing. But they do what they do, and they do it best. They stick to that.
It was the versatility was not there. And I think there's a couple rappers that would have fallen into that pattern too. Like the one who comes to mind, and I love him to death. I think Big Pun is an all-time great. I think Pun would have eventually, unless he figured it out, he would have ran out of flows because Pun was another one that same
Pusha
thing.
T. Coke.
Rick Ross, same thing.
Rick Ross, yeah.
Yep. Like it's the same,
You expect it,
right?
Yeah.
Both beat. He's great at picking beats, though.
Ross has a great machine behind him.
Great ear.
He does it. He knows his company knows what they're doing for real.
Yeah. Well, Fat Joe. I always thought with Fat Joe, because we just mentioned Pun, and there's always guys who you're like, all right, they're not the best lyricists, but they're so good at picking beats that it kind of compensates for it. Like Joe always was a great ear for production.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Yeah.
Your presentation. Joe has a great presentation. Don't get me wrong. Back in the DITC days, digging in the crates, like Fat Joe could write. He's got a good pen. And also what impressed me the most out of everything in Fat Joe's career, all of it, was when he did the live album with Static Selector. I forgot the name of the damn album. Right? Static Selector decided to do an entire album live on IG in front of everybody's eyes. And Fat Joe saw that it was happening through his story. And Fat Joe was like, no, I'm pulling up. He pulls up to the studio. And of course, because it's Joey Crack, you're going to let him on the album. There's no, he's cutting the line. Yeah, he's cutting the line, Joey. So he comes into the studio and he just, you could tell that he writes the hook and the bars on the spot. He sits down in the chair and he puts pen to paper just like I would, or Mike Hoffa, or any other working MC. He put pen to paper and he came up with that Static Selector joint on the spot. And I was like, wow, don't ever question Joey's pen.
He deserves credit. You know what? And he's become a better rapper over time. He deserves more credit than he gets. I'm not saying that he's up there with like Big L or like, you know what I mean?
He's not a personalist like that. No, he's not. But the way he does his shit, 50 Cent's another one. He doesn't say the most complex things, but the way he says his stuff and the way he structures his music, leagues ahead of everybody.
Is unique. That's the thing that we've lost in today's game. Everybody's so caught up in the bag and looking for the formula that they forget. They're losing track of what makes hip hop what it is in the first place, the originality.
Yeah.
The original, everybody, you couldn't bite. Back in the day, you couldn't bite anything. You couldn't bite a beat, couldn't bite a style, couldn't bite a flow, couldn't bite the look. You had to be one of one. There was one Heavy D. There was one KRS. There was one Rakim. One Biggie. Although Biggie, oh well.
It's all right. I understand. Biggie took a lot from a lot, but that's what you do. You study the game. I'm glad that you mentioned Heavy D. Heavy D was an inspiration to Biggie.
That's why I mentioned Biggie. Right.
Like Heavy D was an inspiration to a lot of people, man. Like not that Pete Rock.
Fat rapper ever.
Yeah, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, bro. Like, listen.
You know what I mean? Ever.
The Fat Boys, bro. What about the Fat Boys? The Fat Boys started that fat stuff.
Yeah, they were fly too. They were Fat Boys. Yeah. There's always somebody who, and that's why I say nothing comes out of nowhere. It's not like we're not Venom over here. My son, he loves Venom and stuff. We're not, there's no symbiote that just lands on our head and we turn into Venom.
Yeah. Nice. I like that reference. I got a few Venom references in bars. I love Venom.
Yeah, I love Venom. Venom is the best. Love Venom. Yeah, love him. Spider-Man's a cornball. I love Venom.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
So before we go, what's coming up now? Plug away.
Oh, lots of things, man. Lots of things, man. The Goat Squad is really capitalizing on the momentum that we've started this year, and we just like continue to push in that direction. You know what I mean? We did the first two grind modes. You know, the connections we made that rolled into doing the tour with Full Blast, 5 cities, 5 days, tour for life. That was amazing. And because of that, we're rolling into the next Full Blast tour, which is the CL Smooth 30th anniversary of Troy. They reminisce over you. And that's going to be huge, man. Me, So Soon, Gons, Mike Hoffa, we're doing the 5th and the 6th. And the 5th is Worcester, Mass.
Yep.
And the 6th is, oh man, New Haven, Connecticut.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's big. You know what I mean? Get tickets through Full Blast Booking, or you know, go to the Goat Squad page and DM. And
now we'll post those. We'll plug them in the description of the audio and the video. So
that's a huge thing. You know, there's a lot of heads that are on the Full Blast, you know, roster that are going to be there, and I'm just really excited about it. Especially, you know, CL Smooth, like. That's just history right there. Huge. And then after that, December 3rd, I think, also in Connecticut, the Goat Squad is headlining another Full Blast tour where there's going to be a bunch of super awesome people showing up, and we're going to close out the show. And yeah, man, the performance thing is just going to keep on going. We're just going to keep on doing live stuff. And I got a new single out today, like we mentioned before. It's called Gritty. It's you know, featuring So Soon and Solomon Childs, produced by King Virtue. It's an in-house Goat Squad production. It was mixed and mastered by K Banger, another Goat Squad member, and you know, we're just moving, bro. Things are going crazy. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, man. Shout out to those guys as well, man. Shout out to especially shout out to So Soon, Virtue. And also especially K Banger, especially to him.
K Banger's the man, bro. We have a very strong team, man. True Words, Ball Brown,
of course, you know what I mean? Everybody. True, that's my guy. They're all my guys.
Yeah, man. We that's what we try to do, man. Make connections, and then the family gets bigger and bigger, and we be rolling. You know what I mean? Everybody we met on tour, Mickey Bourbon, brand new, Young Z, all sorts of heads. You know, Paranormal Adam, Livewire, just. Crazy. It's surreal how it's going and how fast it's moving too. You know what I mean? I can't believe it.
It's blessings, man. It's just blessings on top of blessings, and it's just the fruits of your labor. You keep grinding, and the good things will keep, you know, coming your way. So
yeah, man, 100%.
So Tony Dimes, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the Goat Squad. We'll post all your stuff on the bottom of the links, the descriptions of everything, audio, video, the whole thing when this comes out. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. Shout out to everybody, and we'll keep in touch.
No doubt. I appreciate you having me on, bro. It's always a pleasure. I'm always down to come on whenever you want. And yeah, man, we're gonna keep this thing rocking. Thanks for having me.
No doubt, brother. Take care. Be well. Peace to you, man.
Peace, bro. Talk to you later.
Peace. Talk soon.
Later.
So that was Tony Dimes, man. I appreciate, shout out to Tony Dimes, the Goat Squad, everybody, too many of you guys for me to name. But shout out to everybody. And that was episode number 54. Subscribe, comment, the whole thing. Don't forget to visit santos-threads.com for this cool merch. And we got more coming on the way for winter as well. And of course, as always, don't just say what you mean or mean what you say. Say it with your chest. Peace.